So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a little bit of a different Magpie Circle podcast today. So, just to address the elephant in the room a little bit, Paul has flown over to the pond and he's in America for today. So, I'm making my debut as host this evening. I'm joined by the club's top goal scorer, Les Brad, and lifetime Notts County supporter, Travis Scanlon. Good evening to you both. Tonight we'll just be reflecting on the first game and first win of the season and previewing our upcoming away trip down at Boreham Wood. So as always, send in your thoughts and views and feelings as we go in the comment section. So first, big welcome to Les. Do you want to give us your rundown of your thoughts after Saturday's game and how it went off in hospitality?
Hi Chloe, good to see you again. I've been around the ground, the last couple of games, the Forest match, and I was really highly impressed with how we set up and how we went to play the game. Not keeping it too long at the back, getting it forward, and I thought we created quite a few problems for Forest on Saturday. I don't think we was quite on it as the same against Forest, but we were still good. There were a lot of very good individual performances and some cracking goals. We're set up differently to last year. I don't think, hopefully, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, we're going to concede as many goals the way that we play it. And we look like we're looking to get, if they want to push on us, I think we're going to look to get it forward quicker. And we've got different guys up front now that can create things from nothing. And I'm really excited and impressed about the setup, the players, and I can't wait for each game now. It's looking really good.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Obviously, a great first win. Pretty perfect, to be honest. It wasn't quite last season, I guess, with a 5-0 win against Barnet, but it was as good as a good home performance. So over to you, Trev. What was your opinion on the first game of the season?
Yeah, very impressed. I thought we played some nice football. I think we have played better in pre-season, but it's a first game. It's a first game, and we couldn't expect too much. Thought the defence looked pretty solid at the back, and we was quite impressive. I do like the way that we're getting forward a bit quicker now, and also I also like that we've actually at long last got a poacher. We've got somebody who can take those half chances, and I think that's where both of the goals were on Saturday. Both of them were half chances. But yeah, very impressed with the first game of the season.
Yeah, it was a great start, and like you say, my personal thought was that it was actually a positive that we didn't play as well as what we've seen like against Forest and kind of the style of football, the one-touch passing and all of that. That was a little bit absent maybe. But for me, I took that as we scored 3 goals, kept a clean sheet. First game of the season where it might be a little bit ropey without getting out of first gear. That was my personal opinion. We've all seen that we can do better than that and go up another couple of gears. And in both of the interviews after the game, both the manager and Langstaff both said exactly the same, which to me is a positive rather than a negative. But so let's move on to formation maybe a little bit. I know this is a little bit of a talking point. We're still going 5 at the back with wing backs, but obviously this time we had Joel Taylor on the right with the left footer. So what's your opinions on that, Les?
Yeah, it was probably strange to see him out there, but that's Cal Roberts. We saw him when he first came to the club. A left footer playing out on the right, cutting inside and scoring goals. And lo and behold, on Saturday, what a goal that was! That screamed into the top corner. But he was also, he got the other side of the pitch as well and got balls in. I think Joel is looking good this season, as all the other lads as well. I just like the way that we're set up. When we lose the ball, I think we're far quicker to try and get it back than what we were last year, and I think that's a big plus for us. We can get into their defence, and with Macaulay like Trevor has said, he is totally different to what we've had for a number of years, and anything that's loose around the edge of that box, inside that box, he's going to be on the end of it, isn't he? In fact, you both of you will know a good friend of mine, Steve Atkinson, Acco, as everybody knows, who runs a coach to all the away matches. He started abusing me after Macaulay scored his second goal. He was chanting into the box, he's going to break my record. So I shouted back, I hope he does it this season. We had quite a good laugh going on there. No, I think he's going to, or the fans are going to love that lad. Just like Lee Hughes, how they, they chanted, let's all do the Hughesy. I'm sure that there's going to be a song created for Macaulay, and I think the fans are going to chant it, and let's keep our fingers crossed. It's going to lead us to promotion this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. And obviously, no one could knock that goal from Taylor. I don't think I knew that he had it in him. I don't know about himself, but I think everyone was pretty shocked when that flew into the top corner. But sticking with formation now, going back over to Trev, if you were in Luke Williams' shoes, what would you be playing? Would you be sticking with the 5? Would you go to a 4? What's your opinions?
No, I think I'll stick with what we've got. It seems to be working. So and we're getting forward quicker. That was what I noticed on Saturday. There's not a lot of this passing across the back and passing across the back again. We're getting it forward much quicker. And I noticed that one or two of the centre backs were coming out and charging forward, which Maidenhead didn't seem to have an answer to know what to do with them. It's something we've not done before. But also on the formation side, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with Scott, because Scott's going to be. I can't wait to see Scott. It'd be nice if he puts him alongside Macaulay, but I don't think he will. I don't think he will. It's good, but it's going to be interesting to see what he does with him.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting with obviously Langstaff taking that number 9. They'd usually obviously be your down the centre striker, but this season, I don't know, it's a bit of a different one, because obviously in his interview with Paul, he was saying that he hasn't particularly played as a number 9. So it's interesting to see once we've slotted him in there, he's started scoring already. So it's looking like wherever you play him, the guy's going to score. But yeah, like you say, with Scott, it's very interesting. At some point, they're going to start playing together, which is really exciting. Obviously, they both got 20, 30 goals, 50 goals between them last season. So they've got to start playing together at some point. But like you say, it's going to be interesting if Langstaff maybe moves out to the wing and Scott's the striker, or how he plays them. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting. So we're going to read a couple of the comments that we've got so far. So we've had a good evening from Chris Gosling and Ian Birchnell. Chris Gosling, he says he doesn't know what everyone's getting excited about, with our goal difference being 2 down against the same time last season. Obviously, with us being 5-0 at Barnet. Yes. He also says that he's not getting carried away. He has Macaulay Langstaff to break your all-time goal-scoring record, Les. So there's another one that's on the list. And he's saying hopefully in League 2. So ahead of ourselves yet with the first game of the season, but it's all looking good. Some questions about that Adebayo rolling, whether he's fit or injured. Obviously, with Taylor playing right wing back, I'm not sure myself. I haven't heard any injury rumours. I don't know whether you have, Les, about that one, or whether that's just a team selection one.
No, I've seen a couple of training sessions going on, and the head coach Luke and Ryan, his assistant, they work so hard. Initially, they've been working on getting the players to a fitness, which has involved 2 sessions a day. I've talked to the players, and they've said it's been really tough. But they're also working on tactics as well, on how to break down teams, how not to concede goals. So I've got every faith in these two that. If they do need to change the setup, they've got a preferred setup, well, like we've seen. But if they need to change it, they've got the tools to do that and the players to do that. So let's look forward to Boreham Wood on Saturday and Gateshead, and hopefully we're up at the top of the league.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's going to be interesting, Les, as well, because we've got pace up front now, haven't we? Which is what we've lacked for a long, long time. And it'd be interesting if he puts Scott at centre forward, and then we have Macaulay out on the wing. This is where they scored was it 50 goals last season between them? That's going to be interesting if he does that.
I think it was 32 and 26, which is
Right.
it's nearly 60.
Yeah.
But we can't underestimate Austin as well. What he's come into the Cal Roberts role,
True.
and he was amazing against Nottingham Forest, and he threads some lovely balls through there. We've got a player in Macaulay who likes to be on the shoulder of the strikers, and as we saw with that first goal, and bang, he's away, and a lovely ball through, and it's in the back of the net. Like you say, we haven't had players that have been playing that role over recent years, so I thought it was brilliant to see. And we will be a handful for anybody. I'm not sure, whether when I don't know how you is it Sedwin, when Scott gets to full fitness, whether there is a thought of the two playing up front together. I just don't know, but I'm very happy with how we're performing at present.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But we have had a question come in from Ian Birchnell to Trevor. He's saying, who would you drop then to have Scott in when he is fully match fit? Is it going to be Ruben or Austin or somebody else to fit him in?
This is the problem. This is the problem we'll have. That's what I was saying earlier. I'm not sure who you can drop, because you can't really drop Austin with how he's performed certainly in close season and in the one match he's played. I thought he'd had an excellent game on Saturday, but that is something that needs thinking about. I think that something would have to be. I really don't know the answer to that one, I'm afraid. I don't know who I would drop. I don't know.
Chloe, in the days that I played, there was nobody dropped to make way for somebody else. That somebody else had to fight the way back into the team. If the team was successful, they had to wait the time, and then when the opportunity came, they took it. And I'm sure all the players that's in that squad are aware of that. And once again, when we scored goals, we saw the goal celebration, all the team in there. I just think there's a really, really good atmosphere amongst all the lads there, and they all want each other to do so well. So whatever needs to be done, I'm sure it's in capable hands with Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were having this discussion actually as well, that as soon as somebody is not up to scratch, there's someone fighting for their place, which is great, which is the problem that you want to have. And I'm sure, obviously, it is a problem. We've got a lot of squad depth now in a lot of positions, but it's probably the best problem that a manager could wish for, which is great. So let's move on to everyone's man of the match. Obviously, we had Langstaff there, which, I mean, fair play to him. It's his first game. He nearly got the perfect hat trick. He scored one with the left, one with the right, and he was joking in his interview, one with a header, and it would have been even better. But there's no complaints about man of the match. But just want everyone to comment their man of the match, whether it was Langstaff or whether anybody else, because there was a couple of mentions, especially by the manager. And I think me and my family picked up on it as well. We were having a discussion about it, that maybe Francis, who had a great game, as well as Jim O'Brien and the midfielders that came on. We thought they were excellent, really, and held it up really well, obviously. Anyone that stood out for you, Les? Obviously, Cody Langstaff, but anyone else?
No, I think you just touched on them. Jim O'Brien, I thought he was really, really good on Saturday, and I liked Baldwin at the back as well. I know he made a couple of slight mistakes, but I just think he's going to be a rock at the centre of the defence at the back. There was quite a few really good individual performances on Saturday. Sometimes it didn't quite gel as it did against the Forest, but I'm very happy with what I'm watching. I think the club's in really good hands.
And over to you, Trevor. Who do you think as well?
Well, I know. I seem to think that Jim's got a new lease of life. He's running around like a young man at the minute, and the work he's getting through. I was really impressed with Jim on Saturday. I thought he had an excellent game, but you can't even take it away from Francis, because Francis was in there. He was heading it. He was getting stuck in. But like Les said, they're all fighting for the place. They all know that if one of them falls short, there's somebody waiting in the wings to take the place. And my impression on Saturday was that Jim's determined this season to stay in there. I didn't seriously think that he would last long. Well, when I say last long, I didn't think he would have a full season. I thought he would be, a 60-minute man, coming on after 60 minutes and just helping to see the game out. That was my thoughts for him for this year, but he certainly proved me wrong in that, because in the performances I've seen in the friendlies we've had, and certainly on Saturday, he certainly looked as though he's a different man.
Yeah, absolutely. He's always had a great engine on him, as we all know. He likes to get stuck in, and he's got a great attitude, which is great to have, obviously, in the camp. But like you say, I don't know if anyone was really expecting how much game time he was going to get, but he was brilliant. Exactly what we needed, really, in the middle, as well as Francis. We had Callum Frampton-Lears say it's great to see Jim O'Brien back in the starting lineup. A great player that some people may have seemed to have written off, which I think is definitely right. Like we've just discussed here, some people definitely didn't expect him in the starting lineup, or maybe to have such a good game as he did. We've got Ian Birchnell saying that Paul's missed the goal of the season already and a clean sheet at home. We've got Chris Gosling saying that Scott should be the only way to get Scott in is playing one holding midfielder, so playing more attacking. Let's have a look. Kyle Motton, play a 5-2-1-2 rather than a 5-3-2. O'Brien and Austin in midfield with Ruben behind Scott and Langstaff. And then we're moving on to man of the matches. So we've got a mention for Francis, Cody Langstaff, obviously, a few of those. Again, Francis again. And then we've got mentions about Palmer being missing. So obviously we're praising Jim and Francis in midfield, but obviously we've got Palmer to come back in yet, who was kind of first name on the team sheet last season. But again, he's not going to have secured his place, especially with how them two played. So it'll be interesting to see how he makes his way back into the team, which I'm sure he will. So let's move on to the man of the hour, the man of the weekend. So Cody Langstaff, we've obviously spoken about him quite a bit. Obviously, I think 32 goals last season, which is incredible. Even as a winger, he wasn't even playing directly down the middle. So let's get your guesses for how many he's going to score this season. Put it down in the comments so it's there and you've had your say. So Les, we've spoken about him maybe breaking that record of yours. If you could put a number on it now for this season, just your guesses, how many are you saying?
I don't think I want to do that because it'll jinx him. But what I want to say is what a great lad. I don't know whether everybody saw the interview. He so much wanted to come to Notts County. There are other clubs that are interested in him as well. And I just think he is a fantastic acquisition to the club. The way he plays, he's on the shoulder of the centre halves and he's breaking to get past the line. And you know, we're talking about 2 on Saturday. There was 3 at Cambridge pre-season, the one against Forest. And it's just, you know, that lad can change any game. And I think we've got a fantastic acquisition there. And I just wish him all the very best and just hope that every match he can score. But don't want to put any hoodoos on him.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're all hoping for the same as last season. Obviously, he'd be definitely on for the Golden Boot winner of the National League like he got last season. So if he could do the same again, brilliant. But obviously, it's a step up for him. But he's proven to everyone at the minute that he's got it and he's going to do it. 2 in the first game. What more could you ask for, really? So, Trevor, are you willing to put a number to the
Well, I think if he can stay fit, if he stays fit for the whole season, I won't put a definite figure on it, but I'd say 20 plus without a doubt. I'm like Les. I don't want to put the lad under pressure already and turn around and say, oh, everybody's expecting 30, everybody's expecting 25. I think you would be more than happy to get 20 plus, but I think we need to keep him fit. If we can keep him fit, I know there's no injury problems with him at the moment, but it's a long season. It's a long season with cup matches and or what we've got coming up. It's a long season. I personally think one of his big tests will come on Saturday against Boreham Wood. I think that will be a good test for him. And I think if he gets something there, then although I do believe we've got a good player on his hands, I think that will push him even further on Saturday, because he's going to have a game on his hands on Saturday, and I think he'll cherish it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is the best part, that maybe we aren't just counting on Langstaff this season as much as we were maybe Wootton last season. We've obviously got the front three, with the front three at the moment being Scott's in there, Langstaff's in there. Obviously, we've also got Austin and Ruben. So you've got 4 there that are all more than capable of getting 15 plus goals each, which is considerably more than last season. Obviously, we've lost Cal now, but I think we've got players that are going to add to that and add to our goal tally. And like Les touched on earlier, hopefully we're going to be a bit sharper at the back and not let so many in, which is kind of a recipe for greatness this season. Score more, concede less, and you're on to a winner, really. So, but we have had a couple of numbers in, some more optimistic than others. We've got a 30 from Ian Birchnell with 28 of 37, which is pretty impressive if he gets there. We've got Chris Gosling saying 31 just because Ian said 30. And he also said, Ian Birchnell, that he can see Scott and Ruben getting 20 each. So, yeah, I completely agree. I can see the front 4 getting 15 plus each, which is a great tally. And obviously, we'll be having a couple of midfielders chip in, and the defenders. I know Kyle Cameron likes to get a few in a season, which is great. I think we have got goals from all over the pitch, which I don't think we had as much of last season, which is great. But yeah, so just touching on the interviews from Langstaff and the manager or the head coach himself, Langstaff was on about the expectation that he has on his shoulders. He doesn't put a figure on himself because, like you says, Les, doesn't kind of want that, not so much pressure, but maybe to put a number on it. But he knows the expectations there. Obviously, no specific number in mind, but he also touched on that he doesn't just want to be a goal scorer. He just wants to be there for his team, and obviously scoring goals helps that. But you can tell by the game he had on Saturday that he really wants to play, and he's fighting to show everyone and meet expectations, because obviously we've had quite a few players this season step up from the National League South and North, and they're wanting to prove themselves, and you can see that. Langstaff isn't just waiting on the edge of the box to get the ball to him. He's coming inside, trying to get the ball. He constantly wants the ball, as do all of them, which is brilliant. So a team player, not just a poacher. But we've had the name Lee Hughes dropped a few times, obviously being in number 9. So if he's anything on Lee Hughes, then we've got a good player, I hope. So quickly moving on to a bit of a debate that we've got going at the moment. And I only want to touch on this because I've heard from Paul himself that he's trying to get in contact with some people to hopefully get on the podcast to speak about it. But with the BBC Radio Nottingham, obviously now it's been changed a little bit, and now Mansfield are getting more coverage. But to just kind of go over this topic, because I know a lot of people, there's been a lot of questions, even people ringing up the ticket office to find out more information. But Paul just wanted to let you all know that he's in touch with people at BBC Radio Nottingham, and he is hoping to have somebody on to clear everything up, talk us over everything. So that's that one. So Any more comments coming in? Chris Gosling. We've just done a calculation based on Macaulay's average, averaging a goal every 120 minutes. So he should have around 34 or 35 if we're going off specific calculations, which would be incredible. But we're only one game in, so let's slow down a little bit there. Ian Birchnell says Taylor will get 20 at this rate. And Ruben going for gold to attract top clubs coming in for him. Obviously, he's still our player at the moment, which is brilliant. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, some comments coming in about BBC Radio Nottingham, but we're hoping to cover that in a podcast coming soon. So moving on to the next game then, Boreham Wood away. So last season we drew 1-1 away from home and won 1-0 at home against them. I think we played a couple of Tuesday nights down there, so I know a lot of the fans are quite happy that it's a Saturday. Just to start off with the ticket information, we've had a lot of problems with Boreham Wood tickets. We obviously inquired a while ago now, with it being our first game, and they didn't want to send us any tickets for us to sell ourselves. Then we had to get the league involved, but obviously with it being so late on now, we're not going to get any tickets sold directly through ourselves. It's all getting sold through Boreham Wood on their club website. And we released a statement today basically saying there won't be any sold at the match. So if you can get all your tickets in advance, we strongly advise that. I'm sure you'll be able to call their ticket office as well. But just to quickly summarise that, because we've been having a lot of calls in regards to Boreham Wood. So the club are as frustrated as the fans, I think. But yeah, so if you follow the link that's been put on Twitter and our website, that'll lead you straight to the tickets to Boreham Wood. So let's talk Boreham Wood. Are you hoping to see more of the same? What are you hoping that will change? Are you same personnel? What are you hoping for?
I'm pretty sure that it will be the same personnel that goes out there, and I'm sure that Luke will have seen how Boreham Wood set up and played at the weekend. I think one thing that we haven't touched on, what's been noticeable to me, is Ruben. Ruben's playing a slightly different role to me. He's a little deeper, and he's shown some absolutely magic skills and threaded some balls through to set up goals. And I just love him in that role. I think he's loving playing with Macaulay. He likes him, on the shoulder of the centre halves, nipping in the back. What a fantastic ball he put through on Saturday. So I think as we go into these sort of games where I think it's going to be more physical, although, on Saturday they were strong at the back and they made life very difficult for us. I'm sure that, Ruben will come to the forefront, with his ability, his skill, and threading balls through that back line and using Macaulay to get in on the back of it. So, no, I'm very optimistic. I've watched a couple of training sessions. I've seen matches on the screening. I've been to the Forest game, and I think, wow, I think we've moved on. I'm not calling Ian Birchall in the slightest. I think he took the club in a way where he wanted attacking football. He wanted to score goals, and I'm looking at us now, and I think we've moved on slightly from there, and I think we're more of a handful. I think we're better defensive, and we'll need to be on Saturday. But I'm still very optimistic that we're going to go there and come back with 3 points.
And Trevor, you a bit similar. What are you hoping for against Boreham Wood? Obviously, it's a tougher test against a better opposition. You would have thought, looking at the table from last season.
I think it's going to be a much tougher test on Saturday. But I think we've now got the people in the team who can cope with this. We've got I like the defence now. I do like the way we're playing at the back, and I like Les said, I like Ruben's role now, and I think it's taking a little bit of pressure off Ruben as well, because I think he was under pressure last season, because if Wootton wasn't scoring, it was down to him to score, and I think he got pressure on him. Whereas now, lying that little bit deeper, it's took some of that pressure off him. And I really think you'll see a different Ruben this year. But yeah, I think we can go down to Bromley. I think it's going to be a very tight game. But I can think we can nick that one on Saturday. I think it'll be close, probably 2-1 to us or something like that. But I do think, with Langstaff getting one, of course, again on Saturday. But yeah, I think so. I think we'll get 3 points Saturday.
Yeah, it'd be great, like you say, first home game, then first away game. Obviously, like everyone's mentioning here, a much more difficult test, a different test, obviously, with it being away from home. So it'll be interesting if we stick to similar tactics, similar formation. I can't imagine he's going to change anything drastically, but he's not afraid to change it in the game either, which you can tell from his interviews, which is great. If something's not working, we have a plan B. And I think it might have been Kyle Cameron that was saying that he loves sitting in and just listening to the when they're in training. They have a lot of tactical days where they sit down, go through tactics, and that they've got such a plan B now, and so many different options when it's not going well. So plans A, B, C, D carry on, which is brilliant. We've obviously got the personnel to change it, as well as a really clever head coach, really, who's spotting things early, making those little adaptations, and the players are buying into it, which is the best part. So we're on for a good season, I hope. So any more comments coming in? Yes, we've got Ian Birchnell saying Saturday's game will be a good yardstick, and they'll be a harder to break down. We know how well they're organised at the back, and he rates their manager. Saying that Baldwin looks assured at the back as well, which we've mentioned previously. And yes, obviously, we've got to touch on Dion Kelly-Evans getting sent off in the last minute. Their first game, they had 2 men sent off on Saturday, one being their striker and the other one being Dion Kelly-Evans with a straight red in the last minute. So that'll also come into play against Boreham Wood, which is good opposition. Obviously helps us a little bit, but we're obviously not sure who's going to play instead now. So definitely interesting, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of Notts fans down there to follow. So we've had someone mention in the comments, and I'm sure Trev, you'll know better than I will, that there might be some train strikes going on, so it might be quite difficult for Notts fans to get down there. Something that Paul's mentioned to me as well, so there must be something going on for the trains. A couple of comments about it as well. So do you know anything more about that?
Yeah, but I believe there is a strike again on Saturday, this coming Saturday, which will affect it. But we can get down to Boreham quite easily by car, and there's be plenty of coaches going. So I'm sure it won't deter the fans at all. It does make it a little bit awkward with there being no trains, but it's something we'll live with. There'll be quite a few more, I understand, over the coming season before the finish. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think the fans will be able to use the trains.
Yeah, so at least hopefully everyone will know that and have a look in advance at that one. So let's have a look. So we've got we're talking about just our defence really, and obviously how good they were on Saturday. We really limited their chances, which was a great point for me. Obviously, Williams mentioned that in his interview. So obviously he's mentioned that he knows not so much the problems, but has obviously seen where there's room for improvement already, which I think Langstaff touched on it, that he thought that was a positive, and there's definitely room for improvement. What would you like to see maybe different at Boreham Wood, Trevor? Is there anything that you would maybe change already? Or what are you hoping for? Obviously, it's a different game with it being away from home, but are there any changes that you'd like to make, whether that be personnel or style or formation?
No, I think the way we played it on Saturday, obviously it's going to be a different game, what we've touched on. But I think there was a shrewd move by the manager on Saturday when he played Taylor in that position. because as I understand it, I may be wrong here, and I'll stand corrected if I am, but they've got a fast raiding fullback. Is it Sousa or something like that? His name is. He likes to get down there, and I think the idea was that Taylor could combat that and stop him raiding by pushing onto it. So I think we'll probably see more of that. It's obviously going to be more of a defensive game, but with the defence we've got now, I think we'll probably more or less see the same team again on Saturday.
What's your feelings, Les? Are you sticking with the same personnel, or what? Maybe Palmer? Are you bringing Palmer into the mix, or are you sticking with who played well on Saturday?
No, I don't see any reason to change anything. There was patterns of play that weren't quite right, I didn't think, on Saturday, but over the 90 minutes we were dominant. We've scored 3. We haven't conceded. Why would you want to change? You know, the boys come off the pitch with a positive mentality. They've done everything right as the manager has coached them through the week. So they roll their sleeves up, rub their hands. I want to be picked for next week. I want to go out there and do the same again. That's the way football is. You know, people say, why do you want to change a winning team? I didn't see any weaknesses in that team on Saturday. So, as you say, Boreham Wood are a difficult team to play against. I went down there last year. We drew 1-1. I think we should have come away with a win, but they make life difficult. But, you know, I want to see us when the going gets tough. I haven't seen that this season, which is a testimony to the way that our lads are playing. So, you know, let's go out there with the sleeves rolled up and get stuck into them and go again. In the successful days that I had playing with Notts County, the manager Jimmy Searle, the meetings prior to the game were all on the positive side on what we were going to do to them, never a fear of what they were going to do to us. And so it was always a positive feeling going out, always going to win. And that's how it has to be. Don't change things that work.
I think the thing is, though, Les, sorry, Chloe. I think the thing is that we've got to think about the way we're going to play, not worry about the way that the other team's going to play. You know, it's down to us. It's not down to stopping them doing this or stopping them doing that. It's the way we play. And we've got to, if we play our own game and we do it well, then I think we can beat anybody in this league. And I know people may laugh at me, and you may get quite a few quotes on this, but I think we could even beat Wrexham at the right game. If we play the right way and we're on song, we can beat them. I'm sure we can beat them.
Yeah, well, if you analyse Saturday's game, we scored 3. We could have probably got another 2 or 3 more. Did we concede any really serious chances to them? You know, maybe a couple of half chances. So, not a big problem. You know, let's move on. And they've done everything right for me. Patterns of play could have been a bit better here and there, but you don't knock it.
But that'll come, Les, won't it? That will come as the season goes on.
The longer you play together, the more you get to know each other and the habits and what you do in certain positions, the better it gets. I said it last season with Paul. The training ground every week with Jimmy Searle and us was about Tuesday and Thursday full-scale practice match, knowing how each player plays. We're going to play with each other on the big pitch. It's important that you know how you're going to play together, get together and play. And this is what goes on behind the scenes with these lads now. And the longer that they work together, the better they'll get.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just going back to a conversation we had actually before the game, Les, we were both obviously optimistic about the game, about the season as a whole. But obviously you said to me about how important pre-season is, but how important it is not to just look at the results. It's great. You've known it before. You win every game of your pre-season, then you lose your first one. You might not have such a good pre-season and then win your first one. So how important is it that we start picking up this momentum early? Obviously, it's a very long season, as we've discussed. And we all know what winning games does to a team. But how important is it that you start off on a good stead? And we've obviously got one in the bag. How important is it for us to pick up a result, a point, 3 points on Saturday?
As you said, I've had pre-seasons where we've won all 3 games and then kicked off the season, lost the first, lost the second, lost the third, and you think, what the hell's going on? That isn't football. And on Saturday, you know, we've had a tough game. Maidenhead and no mugs. You know, we had 2 tough games against them last year. One the odd goal victory. They're tough lads at the back. We were difficult to break down. So we've gone in there, we've done it. We've got off to a great start. So these lads will now be going into the second game on Saturday, and they want to come away without defeat again, and then move on to Tuesday up at Gateshead. And if we come away from there without defeat, we've got home match against Chesterfield, another big game. So we come through that. So then you've gone 4 games without defeat. Confidence grows and grows. There's nothing better than going on a winning run is great, but when you don't lose as well, it's key for building confidence, and you know then that what you're doing on the pitch and on the training ground is the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got another name dropped in the comments, a former Notts County player from last season that plays for Boreham Wood, Zach Brunt. So apparently there's a comment here that he played well on Saturday. Obviously, none of us were there to see it. That's another name that we're going to see. Maybe not Dion Kelly-Evans at this point, good or bad thing. We'll wait to find out. Ian Birchnell says a draw won't be an awful result. We have to concentrate in averaging 2 points a game. Do that and we'll be up there at the end of the season. Jim O'Brien will have Brunt in his pocket. So that's what Ian Birchnell's got to say. So we'll see about that, whether we start. So it's always interesting, isn't it, that you always pick up on the former Notts players when you go away. It's inevitable, isn't it? But were you looking forward to maybe seeing Dion play, or are you quite glad that we're not having the chance to see him yet, Trev?
Yeah, I was a big fan of Dion. I liked him for his work rate was incredible, you know, and he was fearless. You know, I mean, I can remember him in the penalty area. He was up against a guy who was a centre half who was over 6 foot. And he went up and he headed the ball. He got to the ball before he did. And, you know, that's the type of player I like. I like players who are not frightened of having a go. I mean, he was, 5 foot nothing, you know, but his height never bothered him, did it? It didn't matter who he played against. Whoever it was, he got in there. He got stuck in. But just going on to what you were saying, we've got some really tough games coming up this month. Some really tough games coming up this month. And this month's going to be a good month for us. If we can come out this month, you know, on the positive side, then the things are looking really good. But going back to Saturday, yeah, I will miss Dion because, as I say, he was a favourite of mine. I was disappointed when he left, but these things happen in football. You know, they come, they go. You know, I'll have my favourites again this season, same as I had my favourites last season. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure we all wish Dion the best. He was a bit of a fan favourite, so I know we'll all be looking out for him, but I don't think anybody's too surprised that he maybe got sent off. It was a little bit like that, but maybe first game of the season, it might not have needed to be then, but no, it'd have been great to see him, but the best of luck to him for the rest of the season. Ian Birchnell says he loves Dion Kelly-Evans and he's glad he's not playing. He was worried that he'd be trying to prove a point and could have hurt one of our players. So we know he likes to get stuck in, so we haven't got quite that one to worry about. And then we've got Roberts saying that he told Williams he would stay this season until Aberdeen rang. As much as we miss him, the link in play between Austin and Ruben was top notch and will be key, which I guess you both completely agree with. I certainly do. I think just the players that we've lost this season, I think we've done a really good job of recruiting even before we knew Roberts was leaving. And I think the same goes for maybe Ruben. I know there was talks of Palmer as well. And Williams isn't afraid to bring players in. He said it in his interview after the game. If he thinks something's missing and he thinks we can bring someone in, then they're in. We've obviously got some money behind us now with the selling of Cal, but as much as I don't want to lose Ruben, I think he might be one of the most important players this season. I completely trust the system that we've got. But for now, we've got a great squad, and hopefully we'll keep on hold of them and even bring in another couple of players. So let's wrap up the Boreham Wood chat a little bit. And so let's go with your predictions for Saturday, Les. Have you got a score prediction or just win, loss or draw, or what are you thinking?
I think it's very difficult to give us. Well, I'm not one that really can go down that route to score predictions. I always ask Jason, our chief executive, when we were at Kings Lynn last season and losing 1-0 at half time, he predicted a 4-1 win. And I thought, where's that coming from? And he wasn't far out at the end. So on Saturday, I asked him before the game, what's the score going to be? And he said 3-0 victory, and just incredible. So I'm not one that can do that quite easily. I do honestly believe that we are well capable of getting 3 points on Saturday against a very well organised team. Football's football. One never knows, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we come back with 3 points.
Yeah, let's hope so. Everyone put in the comments as well what you all think. It's always nice to see who got it right, isn't it, each week, and who's got bragging rights every week. So let's move on to Trevor while everyone else puts their comments in. What's your score prediction, or just win, loss or draw for Saturday?
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier. I think we'll go down there, and I think, like I said, it's going to be a tight game, very tight game. But I think we'll come out of it. I fancy 2-1 to us. I think we'll win that 2-1. But as I say, it is very hard to predict because they are hard to play against at home. I mean, we know that, Chloe and I don't know if Les went. Was it the FA Cup, Chloe, when we went down and we was 2-0 down, weren't we? I think. And we came back. Sorry?
It might 1 or 2, I can't remember, but we were definitely down.
But I mean, they gave us the runaround in that game. But we came away with something and got them back to our place. But I think I fancy a Saturday 2-1, 2 knots.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously last season we didn't lose to them in the league. But it's always easy to compare seasons, isn't it? I know we get trapped in that as fans. It was always the Ardley Birchnell debate. Now we're going to be talking about our performances last season compared to this season and the results and where we are at what times. It's also difficult with, obviously, we've both only played 1 game. I'm not sure myself how Boreham Wood got on in pre-season. I know you can't look at that too deeply, but when you've only got 1 game to go off, you don't know how well prepared they are. Obviously, they've had 2 players sent off that are now unavailable for the Notts game. So that's another interesting aspect. So it's always difficult at this start of the season to make predictions. Like you say, I'm hoping for a win as well. I think everyone in the comments, we've got some coming in now. Let's have a look. So we've got possibly a Nick a 1-0 win. Oh, Les's cuckoo clock. Perfectly on time.
Still here.
There we go. So we've got 2-0 Notts, Ruben and Langstaff by Ian Birchnell. Nick a 1-0 win with a goal from a set piece from Chris Gosling. So we've got a longer one from James Ford, who's going for the only slight disappointment for him is right wing back. First game when we played Taylor there. However, if he scores a beauty like that every week, we'll just have to say Williams is a genius. So he's going 3-1 to Notts. We've got a couple of 0-0s in there. Shane Walker thinks it'll be tied with 0-0, and Mfol also a 0-0. Ian would take a 0-0 draw as well. And we've got Duncan Comrie thinking we'll nick it 1-0. So I think everyone's really got it as being a tough game, which it definitely is. Bringing in the fact that we're away from home is also difficult. And against a team who finished quite strongly last season, obviously had the great FA Cup run which I think knocks them a little bit towards the end. And maybe that's why they didn't finish as highly as they could have. But like you say, great manager, a good squad depth. So it'll be interesting to see. So it's just looking back at some other results that came in that may be of interest to us. Obviously, we've got Chesterfield that came away from Dorking away with a 2-2 draw. But they had 2 men sent off as well. So a lot of players seeing red already from the first game, one being their goalkeeper. We all know the issues that we've got with substitutions. We're only allowed 5 on the bench, only allowed to make those 3 subs. So it's interesting that the first game of the season, we've already seen an outfield player in goal. Just to quickly touch on that topic a little bit, how important is it for you, Les? Obviously, we speak about injuries and not being able to really have a goalkeeper on the bench with only being able to have 5 subs. What do you think about this rule? Is it time that it change, especially in the Premier League and other leagues? They're now allowed to make 5 subs during the game, never mind have only 5 players on the bench.
I think work needs to be done. Either an outfield player learning how to play goalkeeper, so in the event of the goalkeeper getting sent off or injured, then there is somebody that knows the role and can do it. I'm not sure at this stage whether you should have a goalkeeper on the sidelines. It's depriving you of maybe other key players that you may need to put on the pitch. But you know, at the Premiership level, is it 9 now on the bench? You know, to me, it's got to be universal all around. Whatever game you're playing, the substitution rule should be the same, whatever league you're in. But no, I think that margins should be made that each team can have a goalkeeper on there with sufficient subs to make do to making up the numbers for the outfield players.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. Got Chris Gosling saying that apparently he went off twice. Ian Birchall also saying that he was a bit of a liability for his team last season, and if that was Sokum, he wouldn't be wanting him in goal again. So it's interesting as well. They obviously had Loach leave this season, so it's definitely an interesting topic of conversation. There was a lot going off in the first National League games this season. A couple of red cards, like we've said. A late winner again for Wrexham. What's going off there? They just can't seem to wrap a game up, not just early, but they always seem to come in with that late goal. What are you seeing about with them this season, Trev? Are you seeing them walking the league as such? Are you thinking it's going to be a little bit more difficult? Obviously, they had a late playoff loss and then also lost the FA Trophy. So maybe do you think the pressure might be getting to them, or whether you think they've spent too much money to not be as good as everyone thinks this season?
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure on them, and pressure doesn't help. It'll get through to the players. The players know, or that they're being predicted that they're going to win every match. They're going to walk the league. That puts pressure. That puts big pressure on the players. I'm not convinced that they'll walk it like everybody seems to think they will. I'm not saying by a long way that they won't win the league. I think they'll be probably up there, but I think it'll be a lot closer than what people are saying. I'm quite sure. I mean, we're going to be there. Solihull are going to be there. Chesterfield, there or thereabouts. But I'm not convinced. I'm not totally convinced that Wrexham are going to walk the league because of the pressure that's put on them. They've spent an awful lot of money, and I think I'd like to see what happens if they don't go up this season. It'll be very interesting on what way the owners go, because they've spent an awful lot of money, and I think that'll get through to the players that they've got to go up this season, and that is added pressure on top of pressure of winning games, the pressure that they've got to win. It'll be interesting. That's just my personal thought.
Yeah, definitely. We've touched on the really difficult month that we've got coming up. And I think, me personally, one of the first games that I looked for was that Wrexham game. I think it's going to be a really good game again this season. We obviously played them early on last season, and it was a great game to watch. It was a game that I look forward to them playing them at home. So obviously they're kind of ones to watch when the results come in, as well as Solihull Moors. I don't think that was much as a surprise to anyone, 4-1 away from home. I think they've obviously got Neil Ardley playing well, got playoffs last season. They're just going to improve. And they're scoring goals for fun. So another one to look out for. Obviously, we've got them in our run coming up. So just to name a few of the teams that we've got to play, we've obviously got Boreham Wood and Gateshead. Then we've got Chesterfield, Halifax, Solihull, Dagenham, Bromley. And it's going to be a long month, a long couple of months. Some big teams in there. But like you say, Les, earlier, if we can start this momentum early, that we're getting teams out of the way. If we can get results against these teams and get this mini league of teams at the top going, if we can come top of that mini league, you're on to a winner, really. Obviously, we've got the winter break coming up as well, not for ourselves, obviously, but for everyone else. So eyes will be really on the National League at the same time as the World Cup. So it just promotes the National League even more. Obviously, we've had a couple of games move to TV. The Chesterfield game is going to be on TV, so that's a 5:20 kickoff, which is all great for the National League. But just to concentrate on the games that we've got, they're all very difficult games. But like you say, if you can pick up some results against these teams, we might be just onto a winner. But obviously, it's so hard at the beginning of the season to kind of see where we're going to be at that point. But everybody says Christmas is a great benchmark. You'll have played nearly every team by then, so it'll be very interesting. So to touch on
I think what's also interesting, Chloe, is that Solihull, if I'm correct, I don't think they've spent an awful lot of money over the close season, and I think the team he's got there, perhaps with a couple of additions, is the same team as he had last season. And I think that's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's another game that I looked for in the calendar, obviously with Neil Ardley being there, but I think hopefully we'll be up there, Solihull, Wrexham, Chesterfield, ourselves. So they're all great games, and like you say, really good benchmarks, especially once you start going through the season and we've all had a couple of weeks to settle down. So that'll be a very interesting game. To go back to the Chesterfield game that we've got coming up, Les, we've got a special guest in hospitality, haven't we?
Yeah, we like to have a former player to come and say a few words before the game. But I got in contact with Neil Warnock to see whether he could come along. He was going to come last year to the Barnet game at home, but it got called off, so he wasn't able to make it. And he's picked out to come to the Chesterfield game because obviously he managed Notts County. He played for Chesterfield, so he's coming along. He's going to say a few words in the hospitality rooms, answer a few questions. And I think everybody will look forward to seeing him and hearing his comments. He has actually he told me that he doesn't see himself getting back into football, and he's now set up a few events to talk about his career. He's gone to his the towns where he's been successful in Sheffield, in Middlesbrough, and Cardiff, and Plymouth. And I asked him why in Nottingham, and he said he's had so much trouble trying to find a venue. And I think we're trying at Notts County to see whether we can get him down at Notts to be able to do it, but I'm not quite sure how that's working at this stage. But no, he's going to come along, and look forward to hearing what he's got to say. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people wishing him all the best and want to hear what he's got to say at the club.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a great guy to listen to, as I'm sure we're all aware. So if you're up in hospitality for Chesterfield, you've got a great man up there with you that I'm sure you can fire lots of questions at. So just to touch on today's news from the National League, just regards to ourselves, our Bromley at home game has been moved to a 5:20 kickoff. That's on the 10th of September. We'll be on TV again for that one, which is great. Hopefully have a good crowd come in again. And at home to Maidstone as well on the 22nd of October has been moved to Friday at 7:45 with Forest being played at home. So I think that might be everything just on that hour mark just here. It's been great to listen to all of your thoughts and views on the first match of the season. Thank you very much for joining me, Les and Trev. Really appreciate it. It's been a great chat this evening. And thank you very much. Hope everyone that's going down to Boreham Wood has safe travels and up to Gateshead as well. I think we're all a bit gutted that one was on a Tuesday, but I'm sure we'll make a great following nonetheless. And we'll see you, I'm sure, in the near future with another Magpie podcast with Paul this time. See how he's got on in America. So, night everybody, and have a lovely evening.
Well done.